This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 9, When Your Teen Overthinks.
Abbi, I don't know if just teens do this. I think all of us overthink, but I think it is something that seems to get a lot of teens in trouble. That brain of theirs just starts ruminating, starts overthinking, starts being drama. And you and I both know that when that happens, it just makes everything look worse and everything look bigger and things spin out of control. And so we want to stop that. So as parents, I want to just talk about some things you can do when your teen overthinks, because it's going to happen. I think one of the things we just need to remember to do right off the bat is normalize it. Of course, we're going to overthink. We have a part of our brain, the amygdala brainstem area, that is our survival brain. And it is constantly looking for the bear that is chasing us, right? It's looking for the problem. It's the negative bias brain. And that part of our brain, our brain defaults to it. So it's so easy to go there. So to normalize, like, of course, my teen's overthinking. Of course, that happens to me too. So again, nothing is gone wrong. We want to just constantly remind ourselves nothing has gone wrong if my teenager is overthinking, and even say that to them. And I think acknowledging, like, when they're like, and they start, telling you all the things that are going on, or they're telling you the brain drama, it's so easy for us as parents to be like, oh my gosh, you're being ridiculous, and criticize, or be like, oh, you're just overthinking, and like, stop it. And instead, I think it's so good to acknowledge it and say, oh my gosh, that happens to me too. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Or, oh, I can tell, like, this is really a problem for you. Let's talk about it. Instead of like, stop overthinking. What are your thoughts on that?
I was thinking that your tone as a parent when you address overthinking is so important because I have a tendency to overthink, and my husband has a tendency to overthink. So we're two overthinkers together. But we've come up with like a tone that when we're talking, right? And we'll be in the kitchen and I can tell he's overthinking about work or a parenting mistake or, right, just the list can go on and on. All lightly, funnily, is that a word?
I
Humorously,
like it. Yeah, there you go.
I'll say, "Oh, baby, you're overthinking." Right? Like, so it's super light, but it is a good pause for us both to go, "Oh yeah." Like, I almost treat my brain like it's a third party. Like, it's overthinking, not me. It doesn't have to be an
Oh,
attack
I
on
like that.
me, but
Yeah, I
my
love that.
brain is overthinking. So treat that with your teen. Be like, "Oh, honey, I think your brain is running away with you here," right? So that we can
Mhm.
almost separate it from them. That way they might accept it a little bit easier.
Yeah, so good. Which goes into my second one is stopping that spin, stopping that story. Now, if you go to your teens and you're like, oh, that's just a story in your head, I don't know that they're going to take that real well, right? They're going to be offended and get defensive. So we probably don't want to do that. But to just, like, as we as parents even acknowledge our own, when we're overthinking, and be like, oh, I just had this story in my head and this is what I was doing. And we talk about it to our family. Oh, I was thinking this and this and this, and boy, I had a good story in my head. Then it normalizes it for your teens, that when they have that story in their head, or they're overthinking and their thoughts are just going crazy and spiraling them down, they can recognize, oh, this happens. This happens to my parents. This happens to my mom. This happens to my dad. Like,
Normal.
this is normal. So again, we're normalizing it. But also, my thought with that um, is to ask ourselves, like, is it true? And teach the teens to say that, okay, when you're overthinking, I want you just to ask yourself, is this true? Is it really, really, really true? If you went to court and there was a whole jury, would they all agree with this? And that's how you know when you're just spiraling and spinning down, it becomes so I don't know. It just becomes a story.
Yep.
It's no longer factual. And so that can stop us when we just say, "Oh, is this true? Is this really true? Is this factual? Would everyone in the jury in the court, all the jury in the courtroom agree?"
Well, and with that, my experience has been with coaching teens when I say, "Oh, hey, listen, I don't think that's true. That's just a story. They will 100% say, no, Abby, you don't understand. This is facts. Like, this is 100% real, and that's what you're gonna get. So, like, expect that. Like, they will defend that story, but even you, I say, we're just putting in that wedge, right? To give some
Mhm.
space and be like, "Okay, my suggestion was not heard or taken, but I I let them know that this was not true so that they later can piece together what story they'd like to have." But I've always gotten the defense of like, "No, this is true. You have not that's exactly what they said, right?" Or something like that. But just being that sounding board that's like, "Oh, hey, I would question that before you
Mm.
run away with it."
Mm. And I love that even saying that to the teens, like, okay, that might be something you want to question. You
Mhm,
just might want to question that thought or question that, like that story in your head or the brain drama. Our brains just love to be drama. And I think just normalizing that, again, we're going to go back to that normalizing in our family as we talk. Yeah, our brains are drama sometimes.
mhm.
They overthink, they tell a story. We want to stop those spins. So I think the last thing I just like to focus on is help your teenager make a plan. So a lot of times when we're overthinking, we're thinking about everything go wrong and our brain has a thousand different thoughts about one thing. And when we can just stop that and just say, okay, so what do you want to do? Like if it was just, if everything went perfect, or if you had your ideal plan, how do you want to handle this? So you're stopping the spiral. You're helping them make a plan. Well, what do you think you're going to do? And you hand that back to them. They're telling you all this stuff and you're like, well, gosh, how are you going to handle that? Or what are you going to do? You're listening to them, you're letting them kind of ruminate and get it out of their head, but then you're redirecting it to what's your plan and what
Yes.
comes next.
An idea that I had as you were talking that I was like, "Ooh, I hope I tuck that away for when I need it," is your plan doesn't also have to come right after they've told you the story or the problem. And I'm like, the scenario that played out in my head is if my child at dinner, is dumping about how dumb their friends are and how they didn't invite them and tell me this whole story, right? And I'm like, "Hey, maybe that's not true. Let's ground in facts." I don't know if at the dinner table you need to make a plan, right? But maybe grabbing your teen and saying, let's go on a walk, right? You're using the natural science of walking, exercising, but you're stopping that spin because you're taking them out of
Mm.
that environment. And then on that walk, you can make a plan and be like, well, what do you want to do? Or what do you want to believe? And so I love that idea of making a plan, but it doesn't have to be right when your teen is crying or freaking out or really upset or in the midst of overthinking, you can take a little bit of a breather and change their state of being to hopefully break out of that brain that's just spinning.
Oh, 100%. I'm so glad you said that, Abby. You're so smart because I think if we jump too fast into making a plan when they're still spinning, when the story is still so real to them, they're just going to push you away and shut you down and they're going to stay stuck in it. And it even, it's whether like helping them change it by going on a walk with them or just saying, oh, it sounds like you have a lot to figure out. Maybe sleeping on it will help and you'll know what to do tomorrow. It's even just saying, you don't have to figure this out right now. But I bet like tomorrow you'll have a plan of how to address this. Or just say, hey, if you keep thinking about this and you have some ideas you want to bounce off of me, I'm here. Like I'm still here holding space for you as your parent while you make the plan. But it's giving them and showing them confidence that they can figure it out.
I love that. And I live by, sleep on it, sleep on ideas, like wait
Mhm.
till the morning. We had a rule at my house that after 10 p.m., my mom, if I was going into my life's not okay and oh, my friends, she'd be like, hey, it's witching hour. That's what they called it. They'd say,
I
it's
love that.
witching hour, go to bed. Go to bed. And I
Yeah,
promise you, life was better in the morning. So if
it
you're
is.
tell them to go to bed and then you'll make a plan in the morning. So I love those, Cheree.
So good.
We are so glad that you would join us on our episode, and we hope that you join us on our next episode if you are a parent looking to find ways that you can help your teen manage their brain. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abby, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, abbywinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.